Welcome to yet another slightly technical video on a slightly technical channel, and today we're going to be talking about something super cool, so you have to stay tuned with me, Mr. Slightly, who is going to talk about something actually rather interesting, because there was a comment in one of my previous videos and it actually made me think about something, and I obviously figured out that it is a great idea to make a video about it because I want to put these things to the test. I obviously want to know your opinions, and we are also going to be testing it live while I'm recording it, so a lot of great things. You know the drill. This thing, right? Shroom cup beverage. Preferably alcoholic so you can stand me. We are going to be talking about what makes a pedal original and different from other designs, because we all know there are a lot of clones on the market and nobody tells you basically which pedal is what. So, you ready? Let's go. Okay, so the comment was made by Brian Wampler. Thank you, Brian. To me, it's quite new, this whole YouTube thing, that actually people acknowledge that I exist. It's very nice for you to join the conversation. And he actually commented on the Timmy video, and I'll read the comment for you. Fun fact, I designed the Blue Note for J-Rocket years ago, maybe 2006 or so. It was a tweaked version of my first version, Euphoria. It does have that bass control similar to a Timmy, which is basically just changing the high-pass filtering on the RC network in the first non-inverting amp stage, but J-Rocket tweaked the values of the parts to make it sound like he was wanting. It was never intended on being a Timmy or a blues breaker, just simply a transparent-ish overdrive. It made me think, actually, what constitutes an original design, what makes a different pedal, because obviously he didn't want to make a Timmy, and I do believe him, and I'm sure that everybody else who made pedals and did stuff like this, you would understand, like, there is simply a limited amount of architectures and designs and circuits that you can work with. And you basically choose from these circuits and then you tweak it and you can sort of make it your own. But it made me think, actually, what does make a pedal actually sound different? What are the important parts? Because you see, I sort of think of pedals in a slightly different way, because I've been doing this for a long time. Because I've been designing circuits and making pedals, making clones and all this kind of stuff. Eventually, what happened was that I started hearing the circuits. And I don't want this to sound like I'm bragging or something, but I feel like it is a natural thing that happens, and I also feel like other people who do things like this will understand what I'm talking about. You actually hear the type of the circuit. You start hearing the filtering. Obviously, you're going to hear different diodes and the ICs, but what I find the problem is whenever people who are just guitar players, who are not designers, or who don't talk about technical things about pedals, they talk about pedals as if they are something extremely different. They spend hours talking about diodes, but they don't spend any time talking about the actual architecture that is more important than all the other things. Because let me just explain this for a second, because the way how I look at these things is I look at it in like layers. I would hear the different architectures. For example, if you have a Timmy pedal doesn't have buffers usually on the input and output. It's a rather simple circuit with one IC, and it has a certain feel. That circuit has a certain thing to it. I can pick a Timmy in a blind test over a blues breaker. If you wake me up in the middle of the night, if I'm drunk, but I don't really drink, if I'm high, I will not make a mistake if I'm high. Obviously, the second layer would be, for example, like all the filtering and all the stuff that happens. It could have less bass, more bass, or you could put in like different diodes. And obviously you can use different ICs. That would be, for example, the third layer. You can hear, obviously, differences between different ICs. But the thing is that none of these things are actually on their own. They function as a part of a circuit. And you can't really say that this IC sounds like that. You should probably be saying this IC sounds like that in this type of circuit. And eventually, when you make a bunch of these, you start sort of hearing differences like that. Now, this is not extremely important for guitar players, all right? But in practice, from my experience with working with people, because I would do a lot of custom mods of pedals, of amplifiers, and I would work with actual guitar players who would come to me and they would use these words and tell me like, I want it to sound like this, it's a little bit of like this and whatever, and I would just listen to them and try and figure out what is it that they want. For example, when people are searching for a pedal, and I would lay out, for example, 10 overdrive pedals for them, and I would just look at them. I would look at them and I'd try to catch the reaction and see what they like, because there is a point when they find what they like, even though maybe they would like it tweaked a little bit, but when I catch that moment, it will give me very valuable information on what kind of design they feel good with. And then I can sort of filter it out and maybe change the diodes and do a little bit of tweaking, filtering, and that kind of stuff. That is the point where I'm going to take a look at what kind of amplifier he plays, what is his style, is he like a hard-hitting person, what kind of guitar he plays, and I would sort of be able to adapt that particular circuit with some minor tweaks, kind of like just make it super how the client wants it, basically. So in general, I was thinking, if I had to draw a line to this is a clone and this is an original circuit, I would say that that would be the architecture line. All right, that's at least my opinion, and I'm making this video because I actually want to know your opinion. Because if I would draw this line, I'd say, all right, it is a Timmy as long as the architecture is a Timmy. Even though you can tweak the filtering, you can tweak the diodes and whatnot, but it's sort of going to be a Timmy. We don't have to call it a Timmy because maybe it was not the Timmy designer who designed it first. It's just that, design X, all right? In my mind, it is design X. Now, if you'd add like different buffers, for example, in the input and the output, it is my experience that that can drastically change the sound of the pedal and the feel of the pedal, which is very important. You know, I was thinking about this whole thing, but I'm not quite sure if I'm right about it. Therefore, I kind of want your opinion on this whole thing. But I think that you got my point. It's very hard to draw the line, but I feel like all these different designs and different architectures actually have a certain feel to them, and they make me play differently. They just inspire me to do different things. It's like the problem that you have with music. I mean, people go to courts because of this. Did you copy somebody else's song? But it's like, you don't own these 4 chords. Like, I can make them my own, but where is the line? Where is the line when you can say, all right, this is actually original and this is actually a clone. You just changed 2 capacitors. Oh, and by the way, if you like the content of this fantastic YouTube channel, please click the subscribe button and click the like button. All that stuff is absolutely free, means a lot to me, and it basically costs you nothing. And if you like to support the channel and check out some amazing things, upcoming courses, great Tonex profiles of the amp that you're listening now, and of all the amps and pretty much all the pedals that we are playing, you've got all that on the Slightly Technical Academy, where you can register for free. There's some tech pages, interesting stuff, so I highly recommend that you go and visit, because it's great. But we have to hear this and put this to the test. Now, the pedals that I have over here, I have 3 pedals. One is an SD1, pretty much like a stock SD1. The other one is like a Tubescreamer thing, slightly different from a Tubescreamer. I just don't have pedals that are the same. I just have one of everything, but I just feel like that I need pedals that actually do a different thing. I don't like having just the same thing. And then there's this Ultraphonics by Vertex FX, which is something rather similar to a Timmy. Not exactly, but kind of in that school. It's quite different from these 2. And I'm gonna grab my guitar, we're gonna noodle a little bit, and we're going to try and prove a point here, okay? All right, set up quickly. I've got my Marshall over here, and I've got these 3 pedals. Marshall is a modded Marshall, just 76 JMP in one of the mods that I felt like I should be playing today. And this is the core tone. Fair enough. All right, so let's try these pedals. For example, if I start with the Tubescreamer thing, if we move on to the SD1, okay, so this is post-production, Mr. Slightly, because something happened with the microphone, and I'm just gonna do this part once again. What I just wanted to say is that when I play the Tubescreamer style and the SD1, there are a lot of similarities to this, even though, for sure, there are differences. Yes, you guys who are going to comment that these pedals are extremely different. Yes, of course, there are differences. There's the asymmetric clipping and the symmetric clipping thing. The SD1 has completely different filtering compared to the Tubescreamer, but it's not that different. They kind of inspire me to play the same thing, because honestly, if I was going to a gig and if I was, you know, playing, for example, my Marshall, and I was to choose whether I should take a Tubescreamer or the SD1, I'd be fine with any of them, to be perfectly honest. For sure, you could have your preferences, but I'm just fine. It does that thing. That's why now I actually want to check out the Ultraphonics, because that thing is quite different. All right, for me, this pedal just feels completely different. It inspires me to play completely different music. And that's sort of where the line for me comes, like when it becomes just something different, that it inspires me to do something absolutely different. And no matter what I do to these knobs on the pedal, this pedal is immediately going to inspire me to do something different. Where the SD1 and the Tubescreamer actually do a very, very similar thing, just in a slightly different way. So we can hear it once again. I have to stop noodling, but I just love these pedals. I love all of them because they do a slightly different thing, but I do feel like they're very similar. The SD1 and the Tubescreamer, it's kind of that thing. Now, the point of the video, because what I do sometimes is I don't make the point, and some people said that in the comments. I have to answer to that because I feel like you should figure out what the fucking point is. I don't have to tell you, but I'll tell you this time. So what is the point? What is the point? Well, I feel like if you want to get a pedal for yourself, I feel like it's really important to try different pedals, to try different designs, and to know what is the architecture of the pedal. Because what is going to happen is that you will actually figure out, okay, this is a thing that I don't really dig. Doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just a thing that it's not for me, all right? But this is the thing that I like. And then like, okay, let me just figure out what kind of pedals do I have that fit this architecture, this design, and then you find a favorite one. Because I feel like it is much easier to go that way. That's at least my opinion. I don't know what's your opinion on this. Let me know down in the comments below. What do you think about what I just described about pedals? Do you think, is it necessary to know the architecture of the pedal and the design for just figuring out the things that you like or dislike? I thank everybody for watching. I'll see you in the next video very, very soon.